everything will be alright.
I need you to soften my heart and break me apart. And I need you to open my eyes to see that you're shaping my life. And all I am, and I surrender. Give me faith to trust what you say, that you're good and your love is great. I'm broken inside and I give you my life. And I need you to soften my heart and break me apart. And I need you to pierce through the dark and cleanse every part of me. And all I am, and I surrender. Give me faith to trust what you say, that you're good and your love is great. And I'm broken inside and I give you my life. 'Cause I may be weak, is your spirit strong in me? My flesh may fail, 'cause my God, you never will. And I may be weak, your spirit strong in me. My flesh may fail, my God, you never will. 'Cause I may be weak, your spirit strong in me. My flesh may fail, my God, you never will. 'Cause I may be weak, your spirit strong in me. My flesh may fail, my God, you never will. Give me faith to trust what you say, that you're good and your love is great. And I'm broken inside and I give you my life. Oh, give me faith to trust what you say, that you're good and your love is great. I'm broken inside and I give you my life.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to City Youth Online. We're so happy to have you. My name is Kemal, and I just want to give a big shout out to all the leaders for last week for organizing and leading our games night with all the kids that came and joined us. And yeah, we had a great time. we had a new game that we added, which was Wheel of Fortune. And my experience of playing Wheel of Fortune was a pretty interesting one at best. But yeah, if you missed out on that games night, it's okay. We have more to come in the future. And the best way to stay reminded and stay connected about that is on our social media platforms, and even on this video. Just like and subscribe to stay connected, to get reminders every week about what's happening in the near future, so that you know to hop in with us for the next games night. But yeah, having said that, we are starting a new series this week, and this is going to be a long series for a little bit. And yeah, this story, or this whole series, is actually based in Zacchaeus. And so, I'm not going to say too much about Zacchaeus, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a background right now. So, as we know, if you've heard the name Zacchaeus and you know the story, then you probably know that he is, number one, a tax collector, and number two, he's a short person. And those two things alone are what we're going to start with in this message and in this series to begin with. But first of all, let's start with the first thing we know about him, and that is his name. So Zacchaeus, his name is actually probably not the easiest name to remember. I'm sure, you're thinking to yourself, Zacchaeus? Maybe because I know the name, yeah. I know the name because it's familiar. But if you try to introduce this name to anybody else that wasn't familiar with the Bible or the story in general, then they probably be like Zacchaeus, and there are different pronunciations to the way you could say this. For me, I've had a natural tendency to say Zacchaeus, but it's really Zacchaeus. But yeah, similar to Zacchaeus' name, my name in particular, my name is Kemuel, which is also from the Bible, and I've had a lot of moments in my life when I was younger where, substitute teachers particularly, when I was in school and we had a substitute teacher come in to teach our class, and they do the attendance, they come to my name. At one point, growing up, I always had the expectation that, teachers would get it wrong. Substitute teachers would say it wrong. And you'd be surprised at how many times you can say my name in a different way, but it's all wrong. It's really, I don't know. I feel like I've adjusted since then. But, I think what's interesting is that, it's okay when a stranger can get your name wrong. Like a substitute teacher, they're usually not around for that long. Or if they are, then that kind of hurts over time. But, what really hurts more is when someone that is closer to you, someone that you know more personally, like family or a close friend or a best friend, or even relatives, when they forget to say your name, it's one thing in that aspect, but also when they say your name wrong in another way, that also hurts. And so, when they say our name wrong, by a small margin, or even if they forget our names, I don't know why we're still hanging out together in the first place. Seriously. But no, well, being serious though, consider what I've just told you. The closest people to us, we have an expectation, and we hope that when we get to know someone more personally, that they would come to know us by our name, at least get to be more familiar with our name first, and then over time, then they become more familiar with who we are. For example, I have a best friend who is Faith Joy, and whenever we see each other, when we hang out or when we come together for a family gathering, she would always greet me by always saying my name. She'd be like, Kemuel! And I would be like, hey, Faith Joy. And honestly, that to me has stood out for the longest time in our relationship and our friendship. And so for me, when Faith Joy says my name, and I hear it, it just reminds me that this is someone that has value in my life. This is someone that values my life, simply because they remember me for my name. And maybe it's not your name, but actually a nickname that you go by, because it's a personal relationship between you and someone else. And so, the same way that we have value and we want value when it comes to someone knowing our name and having a personal relationship, this is the same way that, in fact, Jesus wants to know you. And in fact, that's the way he knows you first. And the interesting thing about, Jesus calling us by name, or saying to us and talking to us by name first, is that it's not that he chooses, he has to. It's not like he has to be this way, but in fact he chooses to be this way when it comes to knowing us more, so that when he calls us by name, he's telling us and he's reminding us that you are valuable to him and that you matter. And maybe that's a new line of thinking when it comes to hearing about Jesus and what he wants from us. And I want you guys to just consider that. Consider that Jesus wants to know you more personally, and it starts with your name. Like, imagine having a conversation with Jesus and thinking, he's calling you by name. He's calling me by name. Saying, Kemwell, what's going on? How are you doing? Imagine that. Put your name in where my name was, and imagine the conversation you could have. And imagine what that's like for a moment. And in fact, for some of us, it's a struggle to accept that, especially as someone that hasn't taken that step forward in having this personal relationship with Jesus in the first place. And for a number of reasons. Some of them being, we feel like, Jesus is such a big person, such a big and important person in the story of the Bible. How could he possibly want to have a relationship, a personal one at best, with me, someone that is, smaller, not important? Another reason could be, that when we try to talk to him, if you choose to talk to him, in fact, we don't hear from him, like, audibly, and we don't see him physically. And a lot of people will struggle with that understanding of having a relationship with Jesus sometimes. Another reason is we're not sure if we believe in him. As in, I don't know if I believe that Jesus wants to have that relationship with me. He wants to know me better. And in fact, he's choosing to call me by name in the first place. And then finally, another reason that we have is, if he knew you, if he knew who you really were as a person, you would think he doesn't want anything to do with me. Those are lines of thoughts and reasons that some of us may struggle with. We may not say that out loud to anyone else, but to yourself, internally, inside yourself, you're saying all of these things, or one of these things, affects you, and it actually is related to you. And I want you to understand this, what I'm about to say. No matter what you think, no matter what you think he would think of you, Jesus has already chosen to know you by name, and he's already chosen to know you more, despite of anything that you want to think. Whether it's good or bad, he has already chosen to know you better, and he wants you to have that same understanding when it comes to knowing him. And I think that the best way to look at this understanding of having a relationship and knowing Jesus more personally is through the story of Zacchaeus. Coming back to the story of Zacchaeus, as I mentioned earlier, Zacchaeus was, number one, a short man and also a tax collector. But in fact, in Luke chapter 19, verse 2, it says, there was a man by the name of Zacchaeus who was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. So in fact, he wasn't just any tax collector during that time. He was actually the head tax collector of the town or city that he was in. And in that time when Jesus and Zacchaeus were around, they were considered, tax collectors were considered the worst of the worst in their society. And in fact, they cheated money out of people more than they have to, so that they got more money. And they were considered as people that were outsiders, or even considered as traitors among the same people as Jews. That was the same people. And for Zacchaeus, being a tax collector and being the head tax collector, he was a very unpopular and short person at best in that society. And so, for in this story that we're going to see with Zacchaeus, actually in Luke chapter 19 altogether from 1 to 10, that is the story of Zacchaeus. Jesus is actually passing through the town in which Zacchaeus is in, as in the city that he's collecting taxes from. And at this point, Zacchaeus has heard things about Jesus and what he's done, miracles of healing, healing the blind, healing the lame, the sick, and even raising Lazarus from the dead. And so for Zacchaeus, he is curious enough to see this for himself, but in an attempt to go see Jesus for himself with the crowd being there, he's not able to see them over the crowd because of how short he is. But he finds his way. If you read in the verses, you actually find out that he climbs up a tree in order to see over the crowd, and just in time to see Jesus passing by. And the interesting thing that comes in verse 5 of chapter 19 is this. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, come down. I must stay at your house today." And we're just going to stop there. I want you guys to consider, Zacchaeus' reputation. Consider how he is viewed in society at the time. And just take consideration of how Jesus is calling out to him personally. Like, he's not just saying just Zacchaeus' name. He's actually calling out to him saying, "Zacchaeus, I'm coming to your place tonight. I'm having food with you. I'm having dinner with you." And while Zacchaeus might be taken back for himself, I'm sure a lot of the people in this crowd would also have been taken back by the fact that Zacchaeus is the one that Jesus is calling to and asking to join him. And so actually what Jesus is actually doing when he is calling out to Zacchaeus by name is that he's telling Zacchaeus, "Zacchaeus, I see you, I know who you are, and I find you so valuable in my eyes." That's from Jesus' point of view. And that's what he's trying to send to Zacchaeus as a message. Simply by the fact he is calling him by his name. No matter what Zacchaeus is thinking about himself and how he's viewed in society, doesn't matter what Jesus was thinking. In fact, he knows who he was. He knows what he did. He knows what he's done. But in fact, he still chose to say by name, "Zacchaeus, I want to know you. And in fact, you are so valuable to me." And I think what was the amazing part about the story and what Jesus did in that moment is that, it's an invitation that Jesus is sending out to Zacchaeus in this story. But in fact, it's the same invitation for us, for anyone that has never known him. He's calling out to you by name, right? For example, if it was me, he would say, "Kamwal, I want to hang out with you. I want to have dinner with you. I want to talk. I want to know you more." In the same way, if you put your name in that situation and you consider what that means to you, I think that we are seeing that Jesus is truly valuing and embracing who Zacchaeus is, not as the reputation he holds, but in fact that we are valuable creations of a loving and personal God. And that's the point of this message, is that it's personal because Jesus knows your name. And I want you to sit on that for a moment. If you're hearing this message and this kind of thought about, Jesus wants to have that personal relationship with you. He wants to know you more personally than he already does. My challenge to you would be in this way. Would you accept that invitation? Would you take that step forward in knowing more about Jesus in your life? That's my challenge to you. I want you to consider that as you go into small group. But don't feel like you're in a rush to make a decision. This invitation is here, but it's never going to go away going forward. Right? Jesus would never say to someone, I take back that invitation. He would never say that. He would never do that to anybody that doesn't know him more personally than they already do. And so, consider it, pray about it. In fact, ask your small group leaders to pray with you about it in private or however you want to handle that to yourself. But just consider the opportunity to know him more in your own life right now. And for those of you that, you already have that relationship, you know that you have that relationship more personally with Jesus in your life already, my challenge to you is, would you extend that to someone else right now? I don't know who this is for, but would you extend that invitation to a friend, a family member, anybody that you may be praying about, maybe praying for? Even in fact, if you don't have anyone right now, pray for someone right now. Ask God, who do you want me to reach out to? Who do you want this invitation to be given out to? Right? That's your challenge this week as we get into this series. And as we go into small group, I want to leave you guys with one question, and that is this. How does it make me feel when someone knows my name? Again, I'm going to say it. How does it make me feel when someone knows my name? And so, let me just pray for all of us, and then we're going to go into a time of small group, and then, we're going to kick off this series in a really heartfelt way. So God, we just pray that you would just work in our hearts right now. God, that you would help us to know you more if we haven't already. God, if I'm someone that doesn't know about your son Jesus, if I don't know that he wants to know me more personally than I think he does, then God, I just pray that you would just work your spirit in a different way in their lives. Pray that you would just slowly begin to help them see that there is such a loving and personal side to who you are, and that it's through Jesus that he wants to know you more. God, I just pray that for those that know you and that really don't have anything else to do but extend that invitation to someone else, we just pray that if there's no one on their mind right now, we just pray that you would give them someone to think about. If there's someone on their mind, we just pray that you would give them the courage and the strength to be bold and reach out to them and to extend that invitation to them as well. Lord, as we start this new series, we just pray that you would open our hearts to the way that you want us to, because in this series we're going to find out that you are so personal, you are so close, and you want to be closer to us every time. So God, we just thank you for your word, the story of Zacchaeus, and we just pray that you would give us grace and give us your love and your spirit to continue doing this every day as we go forward. We love you, Lord Jesus, and in your name we pray. Amen. So City Youth, have a wonderful week. Make sure to like and subscribe down below and leave a comment. what is, the worst way that your name has been pronounced or spelled at school by a friend, whoever, and have you ever had your name said wrong, ever? So comment that down below, and so the youth, we'll see you next week. Take care.
Every little thing, everything will be